Welcome to Pangaea Minds. We formed to give the next generation a better chance of solving the complex global issues our current leaders are grappling with. We're a pathway for primary and secondary schools to nurture global citizenship through fostering real-world, ongoing and long-term international partnerships, giving the next generation a better chance of working together. My name is Peter Estens, and I'm completing a Master of Visualization, Simulation and Immersive Design at the University of New South Wales. In 2016, I completed a Master of Education researching inquiry-based approaches to learning and assessment with creative liberty, using a blended learning model. It is a combination of my research across both universities that inspired Pangaea Minds. Global cooperation and collaboration are vital skills for the next generation to resolve the serious environmental, economical, political and health issues. Virtual world campuses are a technology, and the Pangaea Minds framework is a solution. Before introducing you to the framework, it is important to establish the motivations behind this new approach to primary and secondary education. First few minutes will review the four broader problems and solutions in context with recent publications from the OECD, UNESCO and Amnesty International. In particular, the problem with a nation-state and silo structure of schools, the looming problem of teacher shortages, the limitations of current online learning management systems and webcams for collaboration, and the increasing social migration of student populations motivated by economical, environmental, political and health disasters. The second part of the video introduces our processes and our framework, how virtual world campuses have affordances for global participation in professional development, for team teaching to support a global cohort of students to collaborate, through using immersive principles to design inquiry-based projects. An international network of teachers can support students to develop the critical and creative thinking skills independently and, more importantly, interdependently. We're a pathway and support for primary and secondary schools to collaborate on an ongoing and long-term basis and authentically develop global citizenship to give the next generation a better chance. This year we are facilitating Youth Research Vox's United Nations Sustainable Development Goals competition. Applications close on the 30th of June. Using Frame VR, Pangaea Minds is supporting a global approach in creating teams of students to work together across the world. We are training the student leaders, educators and mentors using our framework to bring this global cohort together. Schools are not structured for students to experience global thinking. Schools mostly operate as local silos. Schools raise students in a nation-state system when we need to be developing their capacity to think globally. I grew up on a remote farm in New South Wales, Australia, and many students from this area never leave, never experience another country or culture. Many students around the world don't have an opportunity to experience unique places and appreciate the diversity of people required for global citizenship. Our framework uses avatars and virtual world campuses for ongoing global collaborative projects and play. We facilitate schools' participation through school profiling and matching, instructor-led teacher training for cross-cultural and cross-curriculum collaboration. The Pangaea Minds framework collapses the silo structure and gives the next generation a better chance of working together as teachers model and support students in problem solving and play. The United Nations estimates that 69 million new teachers are required to achieve universal primary and secondary education by 2030. We have a looming crisis of not having enough teachers to accommodate future students. As the Director General of UNESCO states, education holds the keys to a more peaceful and a more prosperous 21st century. It is essential for individual dignity and a motor for sustainable development. Teachers stand at the heart of this vision. Today, we need more teachers and better quality teachers. Virtual world campuses are the technology, and Pangaea Minds is a framework to bring teachers together on a global scale for professional development and training to improve the breadth and depth of quality teachers for tomorrow. The Director of Division of Education for Peace and Sustainable Development of UNESCO points to the specific role of teachers in developing global citizenship. They aim to empower learners to engage and assume active roles both locally and globally, and to face and resolve global challenges such as peace building or environmental issues. Teachers have a role to play in this context. Virtual world campuses provide an immediate interim solution to the lack of infrastructure And our framework is a solution providing professional development and training in regions without the physical bricks and mortar and quality teacher training centres. The limitations of online learning systems such as Zoom tutorials were exposed during lockdown. To quote Forbes' education writer Zach Ringelstein, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a child's third most basic need after survival and safety is a sense of belonging. Without it, children aren't able to build self-esteem or start a journey to self-actualization. The friendships that are built in the in-person classroom, at lunch, and on the playground are the building blocks for a critical part of childhood development. Teacher affection and relationships are what many children come to school for every day. However, research on video conference calls demonstrates that it's difficult to build fulfilling connections. Instead of bonding people and giving them energy, it isolates participants from real human connection and makes them more fatigued. I'm a teacher, and after 20 years in this system and working with these technologies, I was promoted to a role of e-learning coordinator. I realised this system, designed over 100 years ago, and technologies that are decades old, are failing our students. New technologies like Frame VR enable social and spatial presence and fosters a sense of belonging. And we can use these technologies to facilitate a global network of students to only know how to work together. Our framework supports teachers to collaborate in bringing the body back into online learning. Rather than use virtual world campuses with a single school context, we support a global cohort to synergize as a community. Jana Angelis, writer for Upskilled, predicted in 2019 that classrooms will join the Internet of Things, a network of devices like smartwatches, connecting and sharing data with other items and systems, and creating smart schools where the teachers, students, and devices become more connected. Our framework fits with Angelis's vision. The United Nations reports that even before the pandemic, the world was already facing formidable challenges in fulfilling the promise of education as a basic human right. An extraordinary number of children, more than 250 million, were out of school. The UN estimates some further 23.8 million additional children and youths will have dropped out or not have had access to school due to the pandemic alone. With increasing risk of climate change refugees, asylum seekers, economic and health social migration, our framework offers primary and secondary school students an opportunity to belong to a stable online community within a virtual world campus, a place of familiarity with teachers and students from around the world for support. The challenge is to keep students connected and with a device that can be easily charged. And to these students, our framework and a global network of teachers and students is immediately available. We can cultivate a more empathetic generation. We establish school partnerships and offer professional development to better understand and value unique community behaviours before supporting teachers to co-design innovative inquiry projects that are sensitive, inclusive, and accessible for their respective students. This is an integral first step in supporting the students to work together. Our training includes explicit feedback on their performance, including using immersive design principles. This feedback is designed to empower teachers to incorporate these concepts in their designs for student inquiry-based learning projects. These principles are the same employed by real serious game and game designers and are directly applicable for teachers to use in virtual world campuses. By collapsing the silo structure and empowering the next generation to only know how to work and play together, we give them a better chance of solving the complex global problems our current leaders are grappling with. The global partnership of teachers shift their role from disseminating knowledge to adopting the position of guide on the side and meddler in the middle, developing their students' capacity to be independent and interdependent researchers, reflectors, questioners, analysers, and illuminators, problem solving on a global scale. Adopting this approach, teachers support students to develop critical and creative thinking skills cross-culturally as they learn to grapple, to collaborate, to experience absorption, to recreate solutions, experience new potentials. They have elevated capacities for expression, confidence, trust, pride, and fulfillment. Virtual worlds have real-world affordances to nurture presence and to unite the next generation, to experience global citizenship. Two of the recommendations from the United Nations Policy Brief, Education During COVID-19 and Beyond, recommend, firstly, we need to build resilient education systems for equitable and sustainable development. And secondly, we need to reimagine education and accelerate change in teaching and learning. Technologies like Verbella and Frame VR deliver on the first. Our framework accelerates change in teaching and learning. to empower teachers to use virtual world campuses to design collaborative inquiry projects and foster global citizenship on an ongoing and long-term basis, giving the next generation that better chance.